Based on the family's public statements, the issue was not simply that Nolan Wells' phone was eventually returned, it was how it was recovered and what they say they found on it afterward. According to Nolan's mother, Christine Wansley, she said she used Life 360 to locate Nolan's phone after learning he was missing and saw that it was back on the mainland, not on Horn Island. She said a family friend went to retrieve the phone from the house of one of Nolan's friends and that there were issues getting it back. She recalled telling the friend's parent, "I'm Nolan's mom. We need his phone. We're trying to find him." After the phone was returned, she said she and her sister looked through it and found no photos or videos on either of Nolan's Snapchat accounts from that day, which she considered unusual because she said Nolan typically documented social events. She expressed concern that something may have been deleted. Attorney Ben Crump, representing the family, also publicly questioned why Nolan would have left his phone behind if he had voluntarily chosen to remain on the island, calling that scenario difficult to reconcile. At the same time, it's important to note that there has been no public finding by investigators that Nolan's friends deleted data from the phone or intentionally withheld it as part of a crime. Those concerns have been raised by the family and are part of the ongoing investigation, but they have not been established as fact. Wow, this is crazy. I want everyone to hit the like button and take a quick moment to leave your thoughts down in the comment section about what you feel happened. The questions surrounding witness statements. One of the biggest unanswered questions in the Nolan Wells investigation is why the accounts from some witnesses have become the focus of such intense public scrutiny. Since Nolan's disappearance on July 4th, 2026, investigators have interviewed numerous people who were on or near Horn Island that day. As details emerged, social media users began comparing witness statements, emergency call recordings, cell phone information, and public interviews, leading to widespread speculation about whether everyone had fully explained what they saw. However, as of this writing, investigators have not publicly accused Bart Edmiston Jr. or any other witness of concealing Nolan's death or committing a crime. People.com. Public attention intensified because Bart Edmiston Jr. was identified as someone who helped another boat that experienced mechanical problems near Horn Island. According to statements released through his attorney and family, he cooperated with investigators, voluntarily answered questions, and provided information that could assist the investigation. His family has strongly denied online claims that he witnessed Nolan's death or attempted to hide what happened, describing those allegations as false and announcing plans to pursue legal action against defamatory statements. People.com. At the same time, Nolan Wells' family has continued to ask difficult questions that remain unanswered. They have questioned the timeline of events, the handling of Nolan's cell phone, the disappearance of Snapchat content, and inconsistencies they believe deserve additional investigation. Their attorney has repeatedly called for a complete review of witness statements, digital evidence, and forensic findings before any final conclusions are reached. Those concerns reflect the family's search for answers, but they do not by themselves establish wrongdoing by any individual. The Guardian. The investigation remains active and law enforcement has continued to seek additional photos, videos, and eyewitness accounts from anyone who was present on Horn Island that day. Until the investigators release definitive findings or criminal charges are filed, the reasons for any differences in witness recollections remain uncertain. In major investigations, it is common for different witnesses to remember events differently, especially during fast-moving or stressful situations. Determining which accounts are accurate is ultimately the responsibility of investigators who compare interviews with physical evidence, digital records, and forensic results rather than relying on speculation. The death of Nolan Wells has generated widespread public attention, with many people closely examining the available evidence while investigators continue to work toward determining exactly what happened. As new witness accounts, recordings, and publicly discussed audio have surfaced, they have prompted additional questions about the timeline of the events on Horn Island. At this stage, however, many details remain unresolved, and investigators have not publicly concluded that any witness committed a crime or intentionally concealed evidence. Public reporting indicates that Nolan's family has questioned inconsistencies involving witness statements, cell phone data, and location information, while urging authorities to conduct a thorough investigation. Complex. One of the most discussed issues has been Nolan's cell phone. According to statements made publicly by his mother, she used the Life 360 application to locate his phone after realizing he was missing. She has said that the phone's reported location appeared to differ from Snapchat location information, creating confusion during the initial search. Those differences have become one of several topics investigators and the family's legal team have said deserve closer examination. Public reporting also states that the phone was eventually retrieved from a friend's residence after the family requested its return. The family has said they encountered difficulties recovering the phone, but investigators have not publicly concluded that those difficulties prove criminal intent or a cover-up. https://www.wtva.com. Questions have also circulated online about why the phone was returned later instead of immediately. At present, there is no publicly verified evidence establishing why the phone remained where it did or whether anyone deliberately withheld it. Several theories have been discussed publicly, but none have been confirmed by investigators. Because of that, it is important to distinguish unanswered questions from established facts. Returning the phone later may ultimately prove significant, or investigators may determine there was an innocent explanation. Until forensic analysis and witness interviews are complete, the reason remains unresolved. New York Post. Another issue receiving considerable attention involves the audio and video recorded during the trip. Various recordings have circulated publicly, leading to debate over whether they captured an argument and whether Nolan's voice was present. Some witnesses have disputed interpretations of the recordings, while others have suggested the audio deserves additional forensic review. Public reports indicate investigators continue evaluating available recordings alongside witness statements rather than relying on internet speculation. Today, news. The family's attorneys have repeatedly emphasized that the phone itself may contain valuable evidence. Public reports state they sought preservation and inspection of data from the device and later pursued records from social media platforms and Life 360 so experts could determine whether information had been deleted or whether important digital evidence remained available. Those requests reflect investigative steps rather than proof that data was actually removed by any specific individual. New York Post. Life 360 has become one of the most closely examined pieces of digital evidence because Nolan's mother has publicly stated that the application's location history appeared inconsistent with other location information available that evening. That discrepancy has fueled questions from the family and commentators, but it has not yet resolved case in the role of witnesses in the search for the digital location services. Any major investigation different witnesses because they rely on different technologies, important update intervals, and available statistics. They are the people investigators provide and compare multiple source timelines before reaching describe what happened before. Whether those differences have investigative significance remains under review. Complex. Public reporting also indicates the family found Nolan's Snapchat accounts unusually empty after recovering the phone. His mother has said that was inconsistent with his normal habit of documenting outings through photos and videos. Because of those concerns, attorneys representing the family have requested records from Snapchat and other technology companies to determine whether recoverable information exists. As of now, no public finding has concluded who, if anyone, deleted content or whether any deletion occurred after Nolan's disappearance. BIN, Black Information Network. As the investigation continues, Law enforcement has repeatedly encouraged anyone with factual information to come forward, stressing that even seemingly minor details could prove valuable. That reflects the broader reality of complex investigations. Witness interviews, digital evidence, forensic examinations, and timeline reconstruction often take weeks or months before authorities are prepared to draw reliable conclusions. Until those processes are complete, many of the questions surrounding Nolan Wells' death remain unanswered. Nolan Wells' case, the role of witnesses, and the search for the truth. In any major investigation, witnesses often become one of the most important pieces of the puzzle. They are the people who can provide investigators with a timeline, describe what happened before and after an incident.
Debate, Tyndall says, means investigators have an added obstacle while hearing from witnesses.
So we have to make sure that we have a good, solid investigation, and we also want to make sure that witnesses that we're going to, that we're getting their impressions of what happened, not just based on what they see or hear on social media. So I think it has a real detrimental effect when people start particularly putting out misinformation on public venues and on the internet. And
Tyndall says that with the circulation of misinformation, he encourages people to direct their eyes to what's happening locally.
If you're trying to find that information, talk to the people that were on Horn Island that day.
Explain relationships between individuals and help authorities understand events that may not have been captured through physical evidence. In the case of Nolan Wells, witness accounts have played a major role as investigators attempt to reconstruct the events surrounding his disappearance and death. However, witness testimony is only one part of a much larger investigation, and every statement must be carefully examined alongside forensic evidence, digital records, photographs, videos, and other information before investigators can determine what happened. The investigation into Nolan Wells drew significant public attention because of the circumstances surrounding his disappearance. As investigators began looking into the events leading up to his death, they spoke with individuals who had been present during the trip and others who may have had information about Nolan's movements, interactions, and final hours. These interviews became a critical part of establishing a timeline and understanding the environment surrounding the tragedy. Witnesses in cases like this often face intense public attention because people want immediate answers. In the age of social media, interviews, rumors, and partial information can spread rapidly, causing certain individuals to become the focus of public discussion before investigators have completed their work. Law enforcement officials, however, must follow a process that relies on evidence rather than online theories. A person being interviewed does not automatically mean they are a suspect, and a person being mentioned publicly does not mean investigators have reached a conclusion about their involvement. One individual who received significant attention was Bart Edmiston Jr., described publicly as a former teammate and friend of Nolan Wells. According to statements from his attorney and family, Bart cooperated with the investigators, provided information, and denied any involvement in Nolan's death. His representatives have stated that he voluntarily participated in the investigation and that online accusations against him have caused serious personal consequences. No public authority has announced that Bart committed a crime or that any statement he provided was false. Understanding witness statements requires recognizing that memories can be complicated. Investigators know that people who experience stressful situations may remember events differently. Factors such as fear, confusion, distance from an event, lighting conditions, distractions, and the passage of time can all influence how someone remembers what happened. A difference between two accounts does not automatically prove that someone is being dishonest. Instead, investigators look for patterns and compare statements against evidence that can independently confirm or challenge what witnesses say.
Last time I saw Nolan, I was walking to the boat. This was before the fight. Nolan was walking towards Wyatt's boat. I was walking in the opposite direction towards my boat. And not even 10 minutes after that is when I got into a fight.
4 o'clock, altercation had happened between one of my other friends. So I went and checked on him for about 20 minutes. 20 to 15 minutes. I came back. Nolan's boat and the people that he was with were
Okay,
gone.
so the last time I personally laid eyes on Nolan was at like 3 o'clock. We left at 4:30. Nolan was sitting by the boat with that Katie girl, and my buddy yelled for Nolan, get on the boat. We're leaving. She also mentioned that the last time she saw Nolan was when my buddy was yelling at him to get on the boat.
But the last time I saw Nolan,
In a case involving multiple people, investigators typically build a timeline by comparing each person's account. They examine questions such as, where was each person located? What time did certain events occur? Who communicated with whom? What actions happened before and after the incident? Were there photographs, videos, phone records, or other forms of documentation that support parts of the testimony? These questions help investigators separate confirmed facts from assumptions. Witnesses may also provide information that seems small but becomes important later. A conversation, a change in someone's behavior, a location detail, or an observation that initially appears insignificant can become meaningful when combined with other evidence. Investigators often collect large amounts of information before determining which details are important to the final explanation of events. The public discussion surrounding the Nolan Wells case also demonstrates the challenges of investigating cases in a digital era. Social media allows information to spread quickly, but it also creates the possibility of misinformation. Online communities often attempt to solve cases by analyzing interviews, photographs, and rumors. While public interest can sometimes bring forward helpful information, speculation can also unfairly affect people who have not been accused or charged with any crime. For families seeking answers, witness cooperation can be extremely important. Investigators rely on people coming forward with information even if they believe certain details may not matter. A small piece of information from one witness may help confirm another person's account or provide investigators with a new direction. That is why law enforcement agencies often encourage anyone with relevant information, photographs, videos, or memories of an event to contact investigators. Nolan Wells, the audio that could change everything. On July 4th, 2026, 18-year-old Nolan Wells traveled with friends to Horn Island off the Mississippi Gulf Coast for what was supposed to be a holiday celebration. Before the weekend ended, he had disappeared. 2 days later, search crews discovered his body, launching one of the most closely watched death investigations in recent years. As investigators worked to reconstruct Nolan's final hours, one piece of evidence unexpectedly became the center of public attention. Not a surveillance video, not a confession, but a recording from a call placed to a private marine towing company known as Sea-Tow. The recording was made at approximately 4 p.m. on July 4th after the group experienced mechanical problems with their boat. Initially, it appeared to be a routine request for assistance. However, after the Mississippi Department of Marine Resources released the audio through public records request, thousands of people began listening to it repeatedly, believing they could hear voices and statements in the background related to Nolan's disappearance. https://www.fox34.com. Within hours of the recording becoming public, social media exploded. Amateur investigators slowed the audio, isolated background sounds, increased volume levels, and posted their own interpretations online. Every upload seemed to produce a different conclusion. Some listeners claimed they heard Nolan's name. Others believed someone said, "Oh my God." Still others insisted they heard statements suggesting panic or even references to someone being dead. None of these interpretations were officially confirmed by investigators. People.com. The uncertainty surrounding the recording created a perfect environment for speculation. Before reaching any human brains naturally try to identify familiar words. Can you please hit the like button, especially and subscribe to this channel? Expect to Nolan Wells documentary This psychological phenomenon has made the audio one of the most debated pieces of evidence in the death of 18-year-old Nolan Wells. People shocked his Mississippi community. The controversy intensified one of the most independent audio investigations, Janetta Brantley, 26, released what she described as an enhanced version of the recording. Boating trip to using professional software turned into a tragedy that sparked national attention, widespread social media speculation. Her version spread rapidly across TikTok as investigators worked to determine other platforms exactly what happened, receiving millions of views. One aspect of the case became the center of public debate. Supporters believe the enhanced recording made previously hidden conversations understandable. Critics argue that enhancement software can unintentionally help establish timelines, alter and identify potential suspects, making listeners believe they hear words that were never actually determined where physical because of this disagreement. Experts urge caution before statements are not automatically accepted as evidence. Law enforcement compares every account. Professional forensic audio analyst Jennifer Owen publicly addressed forensic evidence, digital communications. She explained that authentic forensic views enhancement differ significantly from internet following editing. Nolan Wells' according to Owen, death, investigators ideally who had been on from original uncompressed recordings. Among those publicly discussed was Bart Edmiston Jr. Every conversion, a former teammate of Wells. Compression, his attorney and family have stated that Bart voluntarily cooperated with investigators, determining what is genuinely present on a recording, provided access to forensic procedures and GPS specialized equipment, and help people identify potential witnesses. Owen also warned about confirmation firmly denied allegations. If listeners are told beforehand what they are supposed to hear, many will genuinely hear public attention